Hello everyone, welcome to episode 19 of Last Minute FPL. This is the Gameweek 19 podcast. Hi Vikas, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good, another okay week, I would say. Not too much changed, at least in terms of my overall rank. But yeah, I think games are again coming very thick and fast. So there's a very short turnaround for this game week.
Agree. Hopefully, we can kind of dive in and see what are kind of the slim linings that we can kind of uncover in this week and try to get some good points.
Yeah, some great fixtures for the premium options this week. But we'll start with the mini league standings just to review what happened last week. And I think the AI team is growing from strength to strength. It's up to 5K in the world. Another amazing week with 78 points. The only downside was that it played Fabianski over Cells, and Cells ended up getting a 9 pointer, whereas Fabianski got injured after 30 minutes. But yeah, turning out to be a heck of a season.
And this is with the AI team owning Bruno Fernandes with the minus two. So that's pretty incredible. Gordon really coming big with Cunha as well. Cunha has really been a superstar. I think the best forward in FPL right now. And those who jumped on in when, including the AI team, when the fixtures turned green, they have really profited of Cunha.
Yeah, Cunha's such a weird one. He scored 10 goals this season from 3.8 xg, which is some incredible finishing. And this week as well, getting a goal and an assist, especially after almost getting banned a couple of weeks ago. I don't know when the FA are actually going to enforce that ban,
I think they're
but
on holiday, don't you? Christmas holiday.
yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, but yeah, lucky for the owners for sure. Uh, Apart from that, I slipped a spot in the mini league, although my overall rank saw a small green arrow from 990k to 960k. So yeah, I think small gains, and hopefully there'll be some big gains to come later.
Mhm.
And yeah, you also had a good week. I think both of us had very similar scores. You got a small green arrow as well. How did you find your week?
Yeah, pretty average, especially compared to last week. I think it's still a green arrow, small green arrow. It's I think the fifth green arrow in a row, but four of those green arrows have been extremely minor. Uh, I think I do count myself a bit lucky because Haaland missed a penalty, and things were looking really bad at 0 points. Haaland coming in, the Liverpool game might have been called off, in which case Haaland would have been my captain. So things were looking really bad uh, to start the game week. So given where that was, I think I'll take this.
Yeah, I think at some point when Sanchez was on a clean sheet, and because you had Palmer and Enzo as well, you had the highest score in the league, and that was after Haaland getting 0 points. So it's like the budget picks that you've picked are doing really well, like Hall.
Yeah. Yeah, they're coming through. Especially on the defense, they're coming through. I think midfield, they're kind of acting like their price points. They're getting a few points here and there, but the defense is really coming through with Robinson, Hall, and I think there's some good value picks there that are like the options are expanding this week, and talk about this more as we talk about this game week. But yeah, there's some good picks in defense at the cheaper price point.
Yeah, I think something to keep in mind for my team. I mean, double Arsenal defense has been serving me really well, but probably Saliba downgrading to one of the 4.5 to 5 options could be a way to put some funds in attack. Uh,
Mhm.
and then one more thing, like, yeah, this week for me as well, I played Fabianski because of the Southampton away fixture, and he was quickly onto 3 saves. And then later like when I was checking the score after the 60th minute, I was like, why has his clean sheet points not been added? And then I found out that he was stretchered off after 30 minutes. Like, hope he's recovering well. But yesterday my other goalkeeper Flecken, he also got subbed after 35 minutes. So I think, yeah, some potential transfers to be forced there.
Yeah, that's highly annoying when two goalkeepers are out at the same time, and it's not nice to ever spend a transfer on goalkeepers because the ceiling is just so low there. Um, but yeah, I mean, if there's nothing else to do, you have to get that done right ASAP.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see how Flecken whether he's fit or what. But yeah, I think he's anyway been a liability, so probably a good opportunity to move on to someone. But yeah, let's look at the last game week's matches. Uh, some really exciting games. Maybe we can start with the Chelsea Fulham game because Chelsea were like they looked good, they were solid, and then in the last few minutes, one wonder goal and then some really bad defending for the winner.
Yeah, I think again Fulham were really, really good. So Fulham are a good team. Chelsea played well, as I said. Maybe like especially the first 10-15 minutes after the in the second half, they looked good. They missed a lot of chances. They created a lot of chances. I think there was not enough precision in the final third. Notable things here were Enzo Fernandez looked amazing again this week. He's on corners. He had a few, really beautiful through balls that weren't converted, and he had a few shots as well. So I think he looks really good still, even though he's not getting the points. Maybe in the last week or two. Um, and on the other side, I think Fulham, Muniz scoring. I think Muniz scored, right? Muniz scoring again, which also again threatens Jimenez. Like there might be rotation, but Muniz is coming good with goals again. Um, and they generally played well. I think they're a very difficult team to play against this season. There is a drop off in terms of chance creation and the number of chances that Chelsea are creating. It might just be the inexperience of the team. And hopefully that's not something that's just going to be a trend and can be arrested for the Ipswich away game.
Makes sense. Let's talk about the Newcastle Villa game for a bit. Newcastle once again doing really well, creating a lot of chances. I mean, the red card for Villa definitely helped, but 2.77 xg is amazing. Like to create against a decent team.
Yeah, and they're in really red hot form. I think they're the form team along with Liverpool at this time, right? Over the last few games, scoring a lot of goals, keeping clean sheets. I think they're finally into their groove. Isak firing on all cylinders, and also the defense coming through. So I think Newcastle right now is a very difficult fixture for any team to play against. And what do they have? They have like Man United this week. I think it's gonna be interesting to see whether United can make that comeback after that defeat, or Newcastle keeps steamrolling teams, which they can. They've done it in the past where they win a lot of games with scoring a lot of goals in a row, and be curious to see kind of how they fare in the next few games, and whether Gordon becomes an increasingly attractive asset, because Isak is pretty much out of the game with most players owning Isak at this point in time.
Yeah, and United away and Spurs away in the next two. I wouldn't be surprised if they won both of those games with how those two teams have looked in the recent games. And yeah, speaking of Spurs, Forest putting up an excellent defensive performance, keeping another clean sheet. They were super organized. They looked really threatening on the counter as well. Yeah, I think they're here to stay at least for this season in the top few teams.
Yeah, really promising. I think I don't know how I've not had a single Forest player in the team the whole season. I feel like I should have at least gotten a defender at some point in time, and even this week I did want to make a defender transfer, and I still have not looked at Forest. So there's just something that maybe the boring element of Forest, which kind of prevents us from going there, but the boring and steady and good is something that's actually valuable to have, and they're proving it week in week out.
Yeah, I think it's probably that we keep thinking that they'll revert to the mean or that they'll go back to, because we know Forest as like not one of the bigger teams or not even one of the mid-table teams. Usually they're fighting for relegation. So yeah, maybe it's time to change that thought process. Even when they have tougher fixtures, they've been really good defensively.
Yeah, and we have to kind of also talk about like someone like Aina. He is now top of the defender points. He's on 81. He's ahead of Gabriel.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, really just shows that we are definitely, at least I am definitely overlooking Forest, and maybe it's time to stop doing so.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether they keep it up for the second half of the season, because usually there are a lot of teams that have a great first half of the season, then they know that they're not going to be relegated anymore and they kind of slack off a bit. But let's see how Forest does. The other game I want to talk about is the City Everton game. And I think, yeah, I mean, I'm slowly beginning to believe that City is actually properly cursed, because They actually had a good game, created more than 2 xg, got a penalty, but Everton just holding strong.
Yeah, they played okay. I think they're very their squad is extremely limited at this point. If you see City's bench for that game, it's just a bunch of players from their academy, and that's not the City that we are usually accustomed to. And given the games are coming thick and fast, it's a question as to whether City can actually arrest that form, or just people are just going to be gassed and whether the form is just not going to improve at all.
Yeah, and one interesting thing I was hoping for is if City drop enough in the table, then Pep may be a good assistant manager option. But they're still only, I think, seventh, which means that unless they're playing Chelsea or Liverpool, you won't get that extra 10-point bonus. So, probably not the best idea because they don't look like they're going to beat a lot of teams around them. But having said that, the next four are as easy as fixtures can get on paper at least. So, I mean, we've been saying that for a while. We said that before this game as well. But maybe Everton is a bit more of a solid team compared to the next four that they have. So, yeah, let's see how that goes. And then, yeah, I think we should also touch upon the Liverpool Leicester game. I watched the first half of that game, and yeah, I think Liverpool are just a very like they're a proper top team. They know how to control games. They conceded early, but they didn't panic. They just kept creating chance after chance, and you knew it was only a matter of time before they won the game. Even when they were 1-0 down, there was never a sense of panic. And yeah, again, Salah getting a late goal to give that captaincy return. Um, yeah.
What did you think about the United Wolves one? 2-0 is pretty unexpected given.
Yeah, I think, I mean, honestly, I watched parts of the Chelsea game, I watched parts of the City game, the Liverpool game, but I didn't watch even a minute of the United game. I just didn't want to put myself through that. I did catch the goals later, and yeah, I mean, I again, like when Amram came in, United were 13th, and now they're 14th, and I don't know where the club is heading. It feels like there is a general lack of motivation among a lot of players. It feels like probably they're at the club for the wrong reasons. I'm not sure, but there's absolutely no consistency in patterns of play or like confidence at all. Yeah, and again, Bruno getting sent off. He's someone who you typically can rely on in terms of attitude, but he's also slowly become more closer to an average player compared to like one of the top players in the Premier League. So yeah, I'm glad that I didn't go to Bruno or Ahmad. This is exactly what I was scared of, that double depression of United and FPL.
So
Yeah.
from United, from an FPL perspective, given Bruno's off, Ahmad's still the only player to even consider.
Yeah, and I mean, I personally just won't go there. Like, it's proven time and time again. And after the first 5 game weeks where I owned Bruno and he kept blanking, except for one assist or something, and then I made up my mind, let me just not get a United player until I'm like absolutely certain of what to expect from them. And so far, it's proven my point. Every time it looked like there is a United player to get, like even Ahmad blanked in the last couple of games, even though he played fairly decently. I don't think that. I just think that there's a lot more reliable midfielders to go for than both Bruno and Ahmad.
Yeah, I think the only temptation is it's 3 home games in the next 4, which is always nice to see on the ticker. But yeah, the form as it is, it's tough to recommend going for any United player, I guess.
Yeah, they're pretty much only above the relegation fighting teams on the table, and it's only 5 points in between them and Everton, I think, in next spot. So yeah, it's just very tough to recommend them. And I also do want to touch upon the Arsenal Ipswich game. Arsenal did create a fair amount of chances, but what was amazing is their defense. They conceded just 0.1 xg, which is incredible. And this is the Arsenal defense we like loved last year, where they just don't give away much, and they're very solid at the back. They keep the ball. So even though they didn't like smash Ipswich like I was hoping when I got Martinelli last week, I was happy to see the defensive solidity.
Yeah, and it also kind of gave us some clues as to how they might line up without Saka. I think you did get Martinelli in your team, and he got 90 minutes. So seeing Martinelli as Jesus Trossard, do you think that's going to be and Havertz as well, who I guess is a bit deeper? Do you think that's going to be the structure moving forward for Arsenal? I don't see who else comes in, right? Like Sterling's out, Saka's out. It's got to be these four.
Yeah, I think that will be their first choice for sure because Havertz did well also from a deeper position. But there is the possibility that, they can play Havertz up top and play Trossard and Martinelli or even Jesus wide or Havertz wide if they want to give a rest to someone because of the short turnaround. But I think this must be the first choice team. Okay, cool. Let's move on to next week's fixtures. We do have early projections this week because of the short turnaround, and yeah, I think three fixtures really stand out to me, and probably are gonna and probably a good time to discuss captaincy options also because City is playing Leicester, expected to score more than 2.5 goals. Liverpool's playing West Ham again, 2.5 goals, and Ipswich versus Chelsea, and Chelsea is expected to score almost 2.5 goals. So, as someone who has all three of the premium options, uh, like who are you looking to captain? Because Haaland, Salah, and Palmer could really go big.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at captaincy from an opposition fixture perspective, it's clear that City is the team to, and Haaland is the player to captain. Leicester are comfortably the weakest defense amongst all teams in the league. They have defensive issues in terms of players. I mean, they have easily the most shots conceded in the last 4 or 5 fixtures. And there's generally not in a great state from a defensive perspective and also generally from a footballing perspective. So I think fixture wise, it's Haaland. But of course, you have to look at the form of the player and the team. Where Man City, I'm hesitant to go with City, and when you're looking at it from that angle, it's Liverpool and Salah. So for me, it comes down to because I think West Ham and Ipswich are comparable. I think they're both pretty bad. So, but between Salah and Palmer, I think Salah is definitely the informed player in the league and probably the best player in the league. So I am alternating between Haaland and Salah here. I think they're the two standouts, and at the moment I have it on Haaland because I have to take the gamble. If I can't take it again, if I can't captain Haaland against Leicester, there's no point in owning Haaland at all.
Yeah, I think, yeah, the way I was looking at it is probably, I mean, if I probably had Haaland, I would captain him too, especially at your rank, because it's like your biggest chance to gain points. But if you're looking to minimize your risk and like try to get as much reward as possible, owning Haaland itself could be a differential. So even if he gets a double digit return, you will gain. And you're by captaining Salah, you may have the insurance that most people above you will anyway captain him. But yeah, if you want to go big or go home, then captaining Haaland's a great move. But
Do you think there's a possibility that Salah gets a rest or reduced minutes this game? It's a quick turnaround for Liverpool, like very quick turnaround for Liverpool. Liverpool have options, unlike City. They have options on their bench
it's
to come
very
in.
it's very possible because Jota and Diaz didn't start last game week, and but one thing that was interesting for me was that once Liverpool were leading late into the second half, I was expecting Salah to be taken off, but he just seems really hungry. And yes, of course, there is a non-zero and higher probability of him being rested, but I'd be really surprised to see that. Like personally, I still have the armband on him. I do think that Ipswich is a much easier fixture for Chelsea than West Ham is for Liverpool, because West Ham are a little unpredictable. Sometimes they really put up a dogged resistance, especially at home. But I think Liverpool's form is what is really pushing it over the edge for me. Chelsea in the last couple of games have looked a little inconsistent in their chance creation. Whereas, like when I was watching Liverpool against Leicester, they just had the same cohesion that you saw under Klopp, where everyone knew their roles. They knew where the players would make runs, and that's what's making me captain Salah. But yeah, I will keep an eye out for team news to see if there is any potential of him being rested.
Makes sense. Yeah. Between Salah and Palmer, I think I would definitely go Salah. It's just I feel like Liverpool are the better team. Salah's the better player, and fixtures are kind of comparable. Maybe you can say Ipswich is slightly worse, or not, or maybe West Ham are more mercurial and could have a good day. But I think these two factors would just make me captain Salah between those two options.
Yeah, and I have some good memories from captaining Salah against West Ham. Like he tends to do well. I mean, he's probably done well against all teams, but individually, I do have some recollections of times where Salah was a differential captain against West Ham and doing really well. Probably not a good
I think I
data
have a
point.
bad memory with West Ham because this was the one of the games where I did not captain Haaland and he scored a hat trick, which was this season. Haaland's much maligned
Yeah.
and City are much maligned, but I just remember how bad West Ham were in that game. They were open, leaky. Admittedly, City were playing pretty well then, and it could be a hat trick game for Salah. Who knows?
Yeah, and that was West Ham was playing at home then too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean it's not a tough fixture by any means. Probably the only thing, like we discussed, that'll keep me away is any risk to game time. Otherwise, I'm pretty certain I'll be captaining Salah. Let's just touch upon a couple of other games. I think Brentford Arsenal is an interesting one because Brentford have been really good at home this season. They've like created a lot of chances and scored a lot of goals, and they'll be going up against Arsenal, which has looked really solid. And it's interesting to see that the projections are giving them a one goal prediction. I think not many teams have that against Arsenal.
Yeah, and at home, Brentford are, I think, the best team in the league based on points so far. So, not surprised to see, and they've been like scoring 3+ goals per game or so. So, not surprised to see that projection. Can they do it against Arsenal? That's the question. Because they have had a few easier fixtures at home, but they also do have a good attack. So, I mean, with the triple Arsenal defense this week, I think that's a bit shaky.
Makes sense. And finally, the last game I want to touch upon is the Spurs Wolves game. As a Solanke owner, still, I think, and like I know Wolves did well, but they've typically not been a great defense. And Spurs, again, they keep creating chances. So, plan to roll the dice one more time, seeing if it's going to be a blank, a 10-pointer, or something in between.
Yeah. Don't you think the most exciting game for this week is Everton versus Forest? It feels like the most 0-0 game that I've ever I'd ever predict. Although, it's showing 1.23, 1.23, which is, probably the most surprising projection here on this list.
Yeah, I think very few teams get a projection of less than one. Like if you see, like Southampton's probably the only team here that's projected to score less than one goal. But yeah, I think even the projection has Everton Forest at a stalemate. So I wouldn't be surprised seeing a 0-0. Cool. Let's move on to the fixture ticker. Yeah, I think Fulham clearly still have great fixtures. As a Robinson owner, that must be really nice to look at, especially the next 4 games and maybe even the United game. Palace slowly making their way up again, and Chelsea dropped down a bit because of the City away game. But based on this, what are the options that you're looking for? Looking to bring anyone in soon based on this macro view?
Yeah, I've made an early transfer. I think I already have Robinson, so I'm pretty good from the perspective of wanting some Fulham players. I'm not interested really too much in the attack. I think Iwobi, I was slightly tempted, but I also already have my cheap midfielders in place, and I don't want to take that Raul Muniz rotation aspect. From Palace perspective, I did get in Sarr, very uninspiring last week, but really the fixtures for Sarr are from this week with Southampton at home. So I'm pretty happy with that. I've also gotten Munoz, who I think is also an exciting pick. I got him in for Rico Lewis. Just made the transfer today. I think over the next 5, I do need, I do need budget defenders to do well because I don't have the funds to get, Saliba or Gabriel. And I think he's one of the defenders that seems like he could have lot of returns or a few returns at least from an attacking perspective over the next five, and he's someone I think worth looking into.
Yeah,
I
I
would
think.
love to get Trent.
Mhm.
Liverpool are fourth in the ticker, but they have a double game week coming in. Trent, I think, was pretty good. I just don't have the funds to get him, however.
Yeah, I think from your point of view, whenever you get rid of Haaland, you could probably get anyone who you want. So that could probably be the time to move on to someone more expensive. Uh, Interesting about Rico Lewis. I know he's been disappointing, but did you not feel tempted to keep him for the next 3-4 games given the fixtures?
I just I don't see it. I mean, I can gamble on the City attack with Haaland, but their defense looks really really bad. And yeah, sure, like the Leicester game might get a clean sheet. Rico Lewis might start, but they have defenders coming back from injuries. He's gonna start the next game, so there's a minutes issue, and with the fact that City are not very good defensively, I think I'd rather go for the certainty of minutes from Munoz, who's also playing as wing back and highly attacking. It just it just solves a lot of headaches of Lewis coming from the bench and getting a 1 pointer.
Yeah, for sure. Munoz is a very exciting option because he's looked really good and he's always been high on in the attacking stats as well. So that makes sense. Anyone else that you're looking for, either in a premium or a budget space from the attacking point of view?
I mean, I would like to get Gordon from Newcastle because, as I said, I think Newcastle are the form team, and Isaac, while he was good, I'm not sure how much he's going to contribute to my rank in the weeks coming forward. But I can't get him. There's no route for me to get Isaac because I don't have a spot in my midfield in that sort of price range where I can just swap around. So I can't get Gordon, but I would like to get him. Apart from that, I think right now I'm pretty happy with my team. I do have players who have good fixtures, so I'm not really looking at any specific player for this week or over the next 2 3. I think Gordon's the main one that I would like to have because Newcastle is the top team in the league. The other player that I do want to shout out who could be interesting is Watkins because Duran got a red card and Villa have some good fixtures. He's not mid-priced by any stretch, but Brighton, Leicester, Everton, Arsenal not easy, but West Ham pretty good. Maybe Duran's back by then, but at least for next to some sort of a short-term gamble, he's interesting as a differential.
Yeah, and Villa appealed the red card and that got rejected as well. So Duran is out for 3 game weeks at least. Yeah, if the funds are there, Watkins is. I mean, and it's surprising to see Watkins to lose his spot after being so good last season. But maybe it's a chance for him to regain his spot now. A couple of players who probably, based on this, we should be looking to move on. Cunha probably, like the fixtures are looking really difficult. Maybe Spurs away, not so much, but after that, Forest, Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal. Although I don't know, like he seems like he's got some special powers this
I
season.
wouldn't do it if you have Cunha because there's no other option. Like if you can go to Haaland, sure, go to Haaland. But Cunha is like performing much better than Haaland. But I would still like if I had the funds, I'd go to Haaland. Beyond that, there's no one else that stands out from a attacking forward spot. So I think until he's banned, he's okay to own.
I
But
know. I
that's
mean, I would probably keep him for this week and maybe the next. But I feel like uh, I know Jackson hasn't done really well in the last few game weeks, but the next 4 fixtures are still amazing on paper. And yeah, if that's a move on the cards, I wouldn't be against it at all.
I think with Jackson, the one thing to keep in mind is I do expect either Ipswich. I think Ipswich he'll get a rest. I think he'll get rested against Ipswich, and Kunku will. He has to play. He's a good player. I think Maresca, if he doesn't rotate the team, there's going to be issues with morale and also Chelsea do need a good squad depth. The number of games they're playing, or otherwise it's going to be a City situation. So I think he will rotate Jackson versus Ipswich.
That's fair. One thing that I've realized that at least looking at the sticker that given the fact that I have Trent, Saliba, and Gabriel, I've kind of locked myself out of playing budget defenders. And looking at the fixtures for both Liverpool and Arsenal, I don't think I might be moving them out anytime soon, unless I need some specific amount of money to upgrade someone in attack. So that's kind of allowed me to just focus on the attacking players, but also I've been missing out a lot of points from players like Hall and Robinson and maybe Munoz as well. Uh, yeah, I mean, it's like a bet that I've made. Now I have to see how that turns out.
Yeah, I think if you have the funds, Arsenal have been really good, right? Like defensively, both from chipping in with attacking returns and clean sheets. So I would have done the same thing. I would have, if I can afford it, I would have Arsenal players in Trent because they're the highest ceiling. So I don't think you really need to be looking at missing out on the points from budget defenders because it's not going to be consistent over a long enough time period, whereas Arsenal can be.
Yeah, that's the hope. Okay, let's move on to our teams. We'll start with the AI team. Um, yeah, so last week the AI team went for Bruno Fernandes by also sacrificing a eighth attacker, downgrading the Joao Pedro spot to a 4.4 forward just to be able to afford Bruno, and then Bruno got sent off. So that's clearly the fire to put out for it. And I think the top options at the price point are Odegaard, Eze if he's fit and ready to play, or Martinelli. Um, but yeah, I'll probably wait till team news comes out to make a decision. But Fabianski's injury means Sells comes in, and yeah, I think the team looks fairly good. The only issue I see is that Rogers has to play every week now. And the AI team does have two free transfers still. So last week it had three. Uh, so maybe it'll do something to beef up the bench again. But yeah, I think the team looks good. Salah captain again.
Yeah, looks good. I think even Mikolenko on the bench is a fairly good option, even if Bruno misses out to come into the team, and like the AI team decides to save that transfer. So overall, I think still a good team. Yeah, I really hope this is the week where Haaland kind of hauls and Salah farm a blank. It has to be. This has to be the week or the next one. I think it's either this week or the next that can have some sort of a redemption arc for Haaland owners. Let's see.
Yeah, what's very interesting, and I want to see if this changes, is that the ownership of Haaland is super low in the higher ranks. So much so that, like, even if he scores and people captain him, it's not gonna give you a big red arrow, unless of course a lot of managers bring him in this week looking to chase those points. So it's yeah, like at least around the AI team's rank at 5.5k. I think Haaland is owned by less than 5% of managers. Uh, it'll be it'll be very interesting to see if that remains the same.
Yeah, I don't think you're right. It won't make a difference at the top end. It's just going to compress the middle range a
Yeah.
bit more if that happens.
Cool. Let's move on to my team. Uh, yeah, I'm fairly happy with the starting 11. I think I'll keep some. I mean, Joao Pedro has been a very frustrating figure to own, but there's literally no forward at that price range to move him on to. So I'll just continue keeping him and hoping for the best. It's been a bit of a frustrating season with picks like Calvert-Lewin or Joao Pedro, who just continuously getting a series of blanks ever since I got them. Uh, but still fairly optimistic on Solanke and Semenyo. And I'm really happy with everyone else. Martinelli, I'll still wait and watch to see how it goes in the next few weeks. I can always downgrade him to someone like a Sar. But yeah, looking to either save a transfer this week or move Flecken onto someone like a Martinez or a Pickford or maybe even a Kepa, someone like 4.5 range or a Leno. Like I mean, the keeper
How many
options are open.
transfers do you have? How many free transfers do you have?
I have one free transfer, but I can move my keeper onto anyone basically.
Okay.
So I am considering both the 4.5ish options and the 5ish options, but I'll probably look to keep it to a budget player. Maybe someone like Kepa is what I'm thinking.
Pickford could be good. Like coming in at, it's a good entry point at Forest at home, and with a double coming in, it could be a good option, but depends on what you want to do with the rest of the funds.
Yeah, I think right now.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, right now it's unclear if I'll need those funds anywhere because I don't have any plans of getting Haaland anytime soon. So I'm open to getting someone like a Pickford. Like that is on my mind because Everton have looked decent, and the only thing stopping me probably is the bad experiences I've had with owning him, where he'll go on a crazy series of not getting any clean sheets. But yeah, I think he might be the best option in that price range.
Anyone else you're looking at from either midfield or attacking point of view, either this week or the next few?
So this week, I think I'm not going to make any changes in attack. Next week, I am open to it. Mainly the Martinelli spot or the Semenyo spot. I would love to move Joao Pedro on if I can generate some funds somewhere, but no forward is really standing out to me as an exciting option. So maybe, I mean, if Joao Pedro continues to not do well, I'll just resort to maybe playing Rogers over him and make him the eighth attacker. It's something I'm considering for this week as well. But otherwise, yeah, it'll probably be moving someone like a Martinelli or a Semenyo to Sar based on the good fixtures for Palace.
And no interest in starting Mykolenko. I think he's been racking up quite a few points on your bench, and this could be one of those weeks that continues that trend.
Yeah, I mean, I would, yeah, it's another option to play him over someone like Joao Pedro instead of Rogers. Yeah, it is something on my mind. But yeah, basically just the 11th player spot is up for grabs. Like my current defense basically picks itself, and so does the midfield and attack. I'm pretty sure I'll play Semenyo, so it'll probably be between Pedro, Rogers, and Mykolenko for the last spot.
And captaincy on Salah, right? Or are you kind of thinking about Palmer just to get, a boost maybe? Because I think majority will go for Salah.
Yeah, I think if Salah looks like he's going to play, I will go for Salah. I think he is the best option this week. Palmer has been great, but Chelsea are a little more unpredictable, and I feel that like even yesterday and in the previous game that Salah played, or even against Spurs for that matter, he still missed a lot of chances. Like hit the crossbar against Spurs, and even against Leicester, he could have easily had another goal and an assist. So I think that it's almost like the floodgates have opened, and I want to make the most of it till they seem like they're closed. But yeah, the game time is the only thing that could make me go for Palmer.
Makes sense.
Okay, let's look at your team. You have some benching headaches too, I guess?
Yeah, I made one transfer, which is Rico Lewis to Munoz. I think I'm pretty set with the defense. Timber, Munoz, Robinson. I'm not thinking of playing Hall against United. I think United is still a good team at Old Trafford. Don't want to risk playing Hall over any of the current three options that I have. The only kind of benching headache that I have is Rogers as a Pedro, similar to the one you have. I have put Rogers in the team just because it's a home fixture. Villa looks slightly better than how Brighton have been playing over the last few. So I do have Rogers starting. I think I will keep it that way. Captaincy-wise, otherwise I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with this team. Defense looks good. All four have good fixtures. One of the lucky things for me is if Sanchez misses out due to rotation, it's not like I'll get too many points, but I have Valdemirson from Brentford who might come in if Flecken misses out. So that has been pretty convenient. At midfield looks good with Salah, Palmer, Enzo, Sarr, Rogers, all pretty decent fixtures, and Isaac Haaland for my forward line. Captaincy-wise, right now on Haaland, but I am wavering to see whether I want to go for that absolute ceiling or just, defend a bit and go with a Salah captaincy and take whatever points Haaland fetches me. And even though Haaland's not been fetching me too many points, my rank has not, in the last few weeks since I got Salah, it's not being hurt as badly as compared to when it didn't have Salah and when I was not captaining Salah. So, at least I've not been getting red arrows, even though Haaland's not been doing well. And if I do go with the Haaland captaincy and he doesn't do well and Salah hits it out the park, then it'll be a red arrow for me for sure. So I'm still kind of debating which way to go there.
Yeah, fair enough. I think one thing though, maybe around your rank, maybe not now, though when we were around the 4 million rank, I think Haaland's ownership was still very high. Like it was quite significant. And whenever you got your captaincy Salah points, you were making huge rank gains compared to those at the top. So probably there could still be a risk of Haaland doing well in your rank. But if you look at it as you're competing with the others in the mini league or the managers who are in the top 1 million who you want to catch up to, then probably the ownership there of Haaland will be very low. And
yeah, and I think at the end of the day, it's just more about also who do I think will get most points.
yeah,
And when I think of it that way, I feel like Salah is the answer for that. So that's where I might just flip back to Salah, and it's a decision I'll make sometime maybe later today.
makes sense. Yeah, and I think
Yeah, the one thing that Salah has is, like, I keep thinking about it, is the midfield, right? He has one more point for goal. He has a point for clean sheet. They're just like more routes to points for Salah. And that, like, 2 goals for Haaland makes it like, a 12 or 13 point of a Salah, it becomes 15 or 16. So that's the big difference with captaincy. 2-3 points become 6 points with captaincy. Of course, I own both, so that's kind of limited. That damage gets limited. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess this week could really be defined by the captaincy picks. It could be one of those high variance weeks that we used to see almost every game week at the start of the season, because all three options have great fixtures. And also, yeah, I think one thing for your team to keep in mind would probably be that you also are putting yourself in a spot where you can make those big gains. So you're at least allowed, like, if you captain Haaland also, or if you don't, like, you're at least making sure your team is different enough from the people you're trying to chase. So as long as you keep doing that, you're at least giving yourself a chance.
Yeah, agree.
Cool. That brings us to the end of this week's episode. Almost the new year. I think the next time we'll probably be recording will be in 2025. So wishing you all a happy new year. Any last words, Vikas?
Yeah, I wish everyone a happy new year, and have a really good, energized end of the year. And hopefully everyone gets a green arrow, and we'll see you next year.